There's a good old saying in Genshin Impact: you are a witness. So in other words, you are just a bystander, a mere spectator at the events at hand. You will sit through the mundane acts carried out by the main characters of the game that they sell on a 3-week basis. Meanwhile, in Wuthering Waves, the quote-unquote main character, Lord or Lady Arbiter, is the central character of the story, an actual main character, whom we are embarking on the journey with to answer one question: just who am I? The key difference between the main character and a bystander is what makes the character quest between Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact so noticeable. I'm Void Enigma, and I'll be explaining why the Wuthering Waves character quest are what we should strive for in the gacha space. So far, we've had 4 different character quests in Wuthering Waves: Lingyang, Jian, Yinlin, and Changli. Now, when you think character quest, you normally should think about the quest that involves that said character. That should be the main point of the character quest. Side characters are essential to every story because they bring together the main elements that help emphasize the point. Wuthering Waves has done this majestically. Each of these characters' quests have involved side characters, but the focus is very clear. It's about the main character, the struggles they faced in the past, the struggles they face now. There is a clear conclusion, and get this, there's character development. In addition, they are pretty much to the point. Some do start off a little slow, but they're at least interesting along the way. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a video to completely bash Genshin, but I will say that 80% of their story quests leave a lot to be desired. With that being said, for a game that barely has any battle-based content, focusing primarily on the story and exploration, they should be able to pump out amazing story content on a regular basis, since that's legit where all of their budget goes. It's crazy to consider, but Genshin Impact's lore is a better story than Genshin Impact's story. I'd have loved Genshin if it just started with the Conrian War. It feels like we are playing the aftermath of a great story instead of the actual story that happened. Considering that both Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact are AAA gacha games, the bar for the story is already pretty low, but consistency goes a long way, and Genshin Impact is just not consistent. Speaking of consistency, wouldn't it be great if you could continue to get consistent content from this channel? Go ahead and like this video, as that helps keeps the channel alive and running. And since you have just liked the video, and you totally have, right? Then you may as well just subscribe as well, since you're enjoying this video so far, right? Now then, let's continue, as we have story quests like Itto, where the story quest is carried by Itto. He's such a great voice and has a unique vibe, and you're actually really inspired to finish it. The side character, for once, is not super generic, although it still has the same model as NCP number 200, but you do actually get at least some different hair and a different horn, or whatever that counts for. You get multiple trials during this quest to play as Itto, and the pacing is a step up in quality. But then we have something like Ayato's story quest. Ayato is the central figure of the Inazuma government, being the head of the Yashiro Commission, so his quest must have something about a political struggle, right? Well, you are tasked to witness 2 NPCs' wedding. Let's call him NPC number 524 and NPC number 196. You sit through blabbing for about 3 hours, and then the villain, NPC number 296, appears. You immediately know that he must be important because he came off of the same assembly line as NCP number 200, and oh, Ayato just beats up the bad guy, saves the day while you watch. Well, okay. I sort of understand the concept of how he's a political figure, so his quest will involve heavy dialogue, but I'm sorry, I just don't care about NPC 524 and NPC 196. The build-up takes forever and the payoff is just minimal. If you're going to do a questline that involves only dialogue, at least make it interesting. There are many anime, manga, or stories to draw inspiration from. It was just a snooze fest all the way through, and we are forced to sit through it without a skip button. And to make matters worse is that so many Genshin Impact character quests involve the exact same format. It's the same cycle no matter how you spin it. 1. The main character shows up. 2. The NPC forgettable character shows up. 3. We devote our entire life to helping this new character for some mysterious reason. 4. A generic villain appears who's even more forgettable. 5. We somehow go to a dungeon or domain with the main character at a random location. 6. We beat the bad guy and save the day. 7. We go to an after dinner brunch with the main character that reveals the whole backstory while Paimon talks about how much she wants to eat, and then you wonder why this backstory wasn't included anywhere in the quest, or why this simple backstory wasn't the main quest to begin with. And 8. You get 60 Primogems. 60 Primogems for 3 hours of your time. 20 Primogems per hour. Enough for 1/3 of a poll. What a great income ratio. This has gotten so bad that I have a backlog of story quests that I just refuse to do. I don't even know which of them are actually good or not, but it's the fact that I know that at least 80% of them will be boring and underwhelming, and quite frankly, a waste of time. Go ahead and comment down below how many Genshin story quests that you actually remember what happened. For me, it's literally 3 or 4, and those all involve the Archons. They are kinda all blended together at this point, unfortunately, unless I've done them recently. And despite the Archon quest normally being a step up in story quality, even they're a coin flip. Like, the one after the Inazuma Archon quest is where you actually go on a boring date with Raiden A. And sure, that sounds great and all, but this character literally just subjugated her people to torment and suffering for years, and then suddenly we're playing a dating sim, drinking dango milk, and having fun the very next day. I really want to reiterate that Genshin can do story quest good. Venti's story quest was actually amazing. Sino's second story quest was very good. His first one was very bad in my opinion. And I thoroughly enjoyed Dia's story quest. The difference between those and all of the other story quests in Genshin Impact is the fact that the character is the main focus, and not some side NPC off of Assembly Line 26. Let's go back to Wuwa, because we have 4 instances of character quests so far. All of these quests involve the characters and they are the main focus. The trials involving the character are actually quite relevant, and they only show up when the story actually calls for it, and you can even test them out in multiple locations. And the NPCs are not generic and forgettable. They at least look different. Now, I'll be honest, for Jian, Lingyang, and Yinlin's story, I can't really remember how the NPCs looked. But for Changli, man, this girl's face, she has an actual face. Like, holy shit, her face is not just NPC 272. Now, the questline for these characters really show their personality and how they handle these problems. The cutscenes are dynamic, and you actually feel the struggles that they're facing. There is a clear and concise conclusion, and you feel plot progression. Now, for this case, I'll be talking about Chun-Li specifically because, in my opinion, this is one of the best character quests told so far. This is your warning for spoilers, so go ahead and skip ahead to the timestamp because I'm going to be talking about Chun-Li's story quest in full. Chun-Li's story quest is mainly about her mastering her ability to control her forte, because when she was younger, she could hurt herself and those around her because of the flame properties. She was a nameless orphan, but found her master, whom taught her the importance of this task. Her master paved the way for her upbringing, and that shaped her into the person that she is today. She used her knowledge to guide Jinshi into the role as well, and she's become a very prominent figure in Jinzhou. Her master laid out the foundation of helping her control her powers, and Rover, whom doesn't really remember any of these actions, also interacted with their master and playing Weiji with him over the years. With a temporal disturbance happening in the area and the existence of the Sororosphere causing it, Chun-Li is meant to find the key to the Sororosphere so that they can enter it and transverse it, and that key is Rover. Her master knew of the purpose of solving this issue in the future, and Chun-Li and Rover would team up to burn the Sororosphere from the inside. This is what Chun-Li's master's final trial was for her. This is also a callback to the 1.1 story quest, as Chun-Li is Rover's wayfarer and guide. Chun-Li knew that she had to find that person, and she suspected that that was Rover, but as they actually helped Jinshi solve her issues, Chun-Li realized that Rover was indeed this person. Rover was able to interact with the Sororosphere, and Chun-Li was able to destroy it from the inside while also not consuming and sacrificing herself in the flames, because she has complete control over her own forte now. That is the foundation that her late master set forth for her, and Chun-Li delivered, proving that she has mastered her forte and completing her lifelong goal. This is quite a beautiful story and I absolutely adore it. Changli completed her character arc, and we see such character development, and we also get to see her as a child in the past. I want to stress again that this is just a great story quest because of all of the hidden elements, subtle hints, and it ties a knot on the 1.1 story quest, as well as Changli's entire quest line and story. It's truly superb. Let's contrast that with the story quest about breaking up a plot of 3 nameless characters for a subplot that we honestly don't give 2 shits about. Yeah, I'm talking about Yelan's story quest here because I wanted it to be good because Yelan is such an amazing goated character, but it was just so generic. The NPCs are all the same and the focus is on those generic NPCs and I just can't deal with it. I didn't even talk about Paimon's yapping in each of these quests. With Wuwa, Abby had about 10 voice lines for the entire quest line, and they were to the point. She only popped up like once in the entire quest as well, and I was genuinely surprised that all of her voice lines were about relevant topics, and they pushed forward the actual quest. Not only that, but Rover speaks often. I can feel a much stronger connection to Rover than I can with the Traveler just because they speak and their interactions with the characters. We also get warm moments like this, and it just makes feelings stir up inside you. You are not just a witness, you are actually the main character of your story. I feel a connection to these characters, and despite it being a gacha game where their goal is to sell you the next brand new character, the consistency so far in these story quests is phenomenal. It's about the character, not NPC model 583. Now to give Genshin some merit, their Archon quests are actually quite good. If you can actually handle all of the yapping and the fact that things are explained multiple times, at least 60 to 50% of the story is actually relevant, and it can be good, especially from the Sumeru and Fontaine quest onward, but when you get to the actual character quest, it's just a complete downgrade in quality, where Wuwa has been consistent from Act 4 and onward. I would just love to see for Genshin to actually implement the skip button and cut down on the dialogue because all of it is filler. Let me know what you all think about how Wuthering Wave story is evolving, and if they have recovered from the poor state of the first 3 acts in 1.0. Go ahead and like this video for more Wuthering and Genshin content, and consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video as well. Until next time, Enigma out.